We're now in the beginning of what we think is a new multi-decade period of globalization, where the story of globalization will be one of fragmentation, where you're going to see barriers go up, you're going to see tariffs go up, you're going to see the flow of capital, people, goods, technology. All of those flows are going to become more inhibited, will become more costly, and add to that the fact that governments, who for the first 30 years were focusing on cost and efficiency, they're now focusing more and more on competitiveness, they're focusing on resilience, they're focusing on equity, and they're focusing on the energy transition. So one of the most important questions facing investors and businesses about the upcoming US election is how will it change the US-China relationship? And the starting point, I think, should be that the 4 years of the Trump administration have been succeeded by a set of policies from the Biden administration which mostly kept in place much of the architecture of the Trump-China policy. The tariffs were maintained, and to which they added new restrictions, new export controls, much more of a focus on advanced and foundational technologies, and limiting Chinese access to those and to the technologies that make it possible. I think we can expect that much of what is there today will be kept in place. Yes, Donald Trump is threatening a 60% tariff on all Chinese goods. Whether that actually takes effect is to be seen. As we know, there is a lot of rhetoric in his policy, and then there are the actions. It's clear that he likes tariffs as a tool. He thinks they are effective in making other countries come to the table. But the really important difference to keep in mind is that if there's a second Biden term, the view of China as a long-term competitor, where all of the restrictions that have been put in place on, particularly on technologies, have to be put in place, there is more uncertainty if Donald Trump comes back, because we know that he loves a great deal. We know he's a highly transactional person and president, and should the Chinese put to him an offer that's compelling enough, he may actually be willing to take down more measures than a second Biden administration. So there's no doubt that in this much more fragmented globalization, in a world order much more defined now by great power conflict with Russia, which is a great power that's invaded Ukraine and is threatening Europe all across the continent, and the competition between the United States and China is asking something very different of the diplomats of today and of the future. And it is still requiring very important diplomacy. It's important that multilateralism still is maintained as a forum for resolving differences short of conflict. But what the diplomacy of the future will look like much more is a diplomacy that integrates economic measures with political measures, with security measures. Diplomacy used to be about war and peace. The future of diplomacy will be much more about economic instruments, markets, and investment. And there I think what we can see in the decisions of governments, in the investments of businesses, and the policies that around the world are taking form is the commitment to the energy transition. Whether you believe it's a climate crisis or whether you believe it's an economic opportunity, that's clearly here to stay, and we're seeing more and more investments there. We're seeing a US-China relationship that will have differences depending on who's president of the United States, but fundamentally has been reshaped around structural competition rather than cooperation. And if you are an investor or business, you look at those two mega trends, and to those you can add AI, you can add demography. You can look at those trends and you can see some of them will actually stay through the changes in elections, through crises, even through wars. And so where we advise our clients is to say, how can you invest against the long term? How can you strategize against it? And how do you know when something in the macro environment comes your way, whether it is cyclical or secular by nature?